Okay, so my name is Aisha, and I want to talk about cloud computing. Um, Cloud computing, what is cloud computing? So, cloud computing is a method of running application software and storing related data in central computer systems and providing customers or other users access to the information through the internet. Um, the official definition from the National Institute of Standards and Technology reads: Cloud computing is a model for enabling convenient, on demand network access to a shared pool of configurable computing resources. For example, networks, servers, storage, applications, and services. And it's a model for enabling the convenient access to these things, to the computer resources that can be rapidly provisioned and released with minimal management effort or service provider interaction. So, in layman's, basically, cloud computing is accessing the internet anywhere, anytime, and being able to use any or all of the data and applications that you want, that you've um, outlined or identified to, you know, be accessed through your storage cloud. Cloud computing actually minimizes the hardware on a computer, like the memory and other requirements. Um, and cloud computing is typically used to create backups of data. Um, when did cloud computing start? Cloud computing started pretty early. From the information that I've read, cloud computing started kind of like before um, President John F. Kennedy took office. And it didn't really take off, and didn't come it came about, actually started before JFK took office, but it didn't become popular again. They've been discussing it, of course, all of these years, but it didn't really become popular again until smartphones. Just the mobile internet devices, period. Um, well, smartphones, a lot of the phones now, hence the reason why they're called smartphones, but a lot of the phones now do have quite a bit of storage and power packed into it. But it still doesn't have like the complete computing power of a computer or something like that, of a PC. So, smartphones can lack in storage, which is where the cloud computing kind of picks back up. Everybody these days are using their phones to do something. I'm always checking my phone for emails. I'm always, sending emails, sending pictures. Using my smartphone to access Facebook, and other sites like that. So, yeah, with smartphones being hugely popular nowadays, cloud computing is, it's become very, very relevant, and, you know, everybody wants a piece of the pie. What are the advantages and disadvantages of cloud computing? So one of the disadvantages of cloud computing would be downtime. And I would say, because I work for a fairly large corporation, and if we, relied on something like that, then I would totally say, yeah, I could totally see this crippling an organization or a business. But downtime is probably the worst disadvantage to cloud computing, and it's the worst disadvantage to cloud computing because, um, and I don't know any client service provider that would say that they don't have outages sometimes, but it's one of the worst disadvantages of cloud computing. It's because everything is internet based. And that means that, your access to your cloud is solely dependent upon your internet connection. So if it's non-existent or if it's poor, then your access, is going to be limited. And if your business is fully on the cloud, then that's going to halt or completely disrupt your business functions and certain processes. You're not going to be able to operate. You may have to shut down. You may lose money. You won't be able to assist your customers, and that's a huge problem. That's a huge problem. But like I said, um, it's just that's a huge disadvantage. That's major, because cloud computing can become pricey depending upon what you decide to use it for, what types of things um, you put out there, the provider that you decide to go with. Cloud computing can be kind of pricey, and so if you're with the cloud service provider, excuse me, that is prone to quite a few outages, then that's a problem. It's a problem because then you probably won't feel like you're getting your return on your investment. So another disadvantage to cloud computing would be cloud vendor lock-in. So with cloud computing being very, very popular, a lot of the market is, I don't want to say flooded, but there's a lot of competition amongst, the different providers. And so some organizations, they may decide to go with one provider and then later down the road decide to go with someone else. Well, certain organizations or businesses may find it difficult to switch their services from one provider to another because it's something that hasn't been completely figured out yet. And one of the main reasons to that is because, cloud applications may not be accessible, on may not function properly on certain other platforms. So, the ability to just switch from one provider to the next, it might not be seamless. It could cause your applications and to malfunction, and maybe perhaps some of your data to just not be accessible. So it's something that you definitely want to take a lot of care in when you're deciding which provider to go with. How is a cloud for storage obtained? Cloud for storage is typically obtained by connecting with a cloud service provider. And like I said, because of the market, competition is there amongst, various providers. And just something I found pretty cool was some of the well-known providers that we use and that we aren't, we may not necessarily be aware, that they are, providers, and just the different things that they provide and offer us, and the way that we store certain information that we enter into these applications. But some of the well-known cloud providers, service providers, are Google, YouTube, MediaMax, and Facebook. And one that we use here at my particular school that I'm attending is Dropbox. We use this feature a lot to submit assignments, and that information is stored, and of course will be accessible at a later time. How we'll get access to it, I'm not sure, but it's definitely a cloud service provider. And also another interesting fact is that the facilities that house the cloud storage systems are known as data centers, something I found out. So who are good candidates for cloud computing? And I would say companies that are, of size, that have the need for it. And I would say that these companies will also have to be completely and utterly comfortable with having all of their data transferred to the cloud. They have to be comfortable with having their critically sensitive information, in the cloud. And also, like I said, in addition to, the company, actually having need, they actually have to be able to, their equipment, their, everything, all of their devices have to be compatible to access the information that they're having stored. How does cloud computing tie into computer information technologies? So, information technology is the use of computers to store, retrieve, transmit, and manipulate data or information, often in the context of a business or other enterprise. And with cloud computing, um, it's the practice of using a network of remote servers, hosted on the internet to store, manage, and process data. So if you ask me, I would say that cloud computing and computer information technology go hand in hand. In conclusion, I just want to say that cloud computing on its basic level is you just being able to um, have access to your data or your files on your PC, smartphone, tablet, or any other device anytime, anywhere. And with the use of redundancy, you are ensured that your information is safely stored and can be accessed. There's no, it got deleted. That's what the function of redundancy is having a backup to the backup. So while cloud computing doesn't provide a complete safeguard from hackers and, other types of infiltrating, harmful attacks, I can say that it is a much safer and efficient alternative to storing large files and data. So that's it. Thank you.